friends, this is Caitlin. Welcome back. Today we're going to be making a card to celebrate the women in our lives. This kind of card could definitely be a Mother's Day card, but it is not necessarily just for a mom or a grandma in your life. And I think it's really important for us to remember the other strong female mentors and family members and friends in our lives and celebrate them on Mother's Day and also year round. So we're going to be using some honeybee stamps items today, as well as a die set from My Favorite Things and from Lawn Fawn, just to create some fun texture. And I just love how sweet this card is. So before we jump in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you can join our crafty family and come hang out with me every Friday for more crafty inspiration. So I'm starting out by trimming down some of this kind of medium gray cardstock so that I can use it to cut out the simple stripes diagonal Lawn Fawn die that I have back there. It is a full A2 size panel, so I cut my cardstock to be just a little bit bigger than that so I wouldn't have to worry about fiddling with all of the little edges. And I ran that through my die cut machine. I'm just using that to create some really nice texture in the background. I want the focus to be the cone flower that we're going to be making and ink blending, but I didn't want the background to just be plain. I wanted to kind of step it up and make this card just a little bit more special. So I thought kind of sticking with a neutral tone but adding this striped texture would be a really fun way to accomplish that. I added some tape runner, some tape dots, Tombow dot adhesive onto the back of this, trying to keep it in one piece as much as possible, but this does line up pretty easily when you go to kind of put everything into place, so I also didn't stress over it that much. I have used this die with multiple papers and then kind of paper piece them all together to make my own pattern background, and that is really fun and beautiful as well. But like I said, for this one I wanted to keep it a little softer and more neutral, so one color all the way around, and everything you can see just lines up perfectly onto my card base. And then I used one of the My Favorite Things double stitched A2 rectangle dies to cut out this piece of wood pattern paper. This is also from Honeybee Stamps. This is from their Grain and Grunge pattern paper pad, which I love. I love this pad. So this was a scrap that I trimmed down and I used to cut out that little rectangle that's going to get popped up on foam, and that's going to act as our kind of like canvas for our cone flower to sit on top of to help kind of raise it up and pull everything together. But I did go pretty small on my frame choice there, or my panel choice I guess I should say, so that gray background really does make a very bold statement on my card. So once I got that thin foam tape into place, I just removed the backing and got it centered up. I always like to take a look before I push down on my foam tape and commit to my positioning. That way you can kind of shift it around if you need to. And then it was time to get to work on my favorite thing on this card. This is the Honeybee Stamps Cone Flower Lovely Layers die set. I have used this a bunch of times, but I don't know how. I haven't actually used it in a video, I think. I went and looked back at pictures, and I've posted pictures of cards that I've used this for, but I can't find any videos. So I really thought I had. I don't know what happened, but I'm sharing it with you now because I am so in love with this die set. It's so beautiful. And most of the time when I use it, I have used Copics to color in all of the petals. But this time I decided to keep it a little more simple and take it easy on myself. And I ink blended these with Distress Oxides. So to do that and make that process easier for myself, I am taping my die cuts into place into the same paper that I cut them out of. And to do that, I'm just taking the same, what is this? Spellbinders tape and that I used to hold my dies in place. And I'm just adding some of that to the back, kind of covering sections of the cutouts. And then you can pop your die cuts right back into their positions. And this way you don't have to worry about holding onto your die cut with one hand while you're inking it with the other. It just makes the whole process a lot easier and a lot faster. So I love doing this. I did take the leaves and those center sections out while I was coloring in the florals, just so that I wouldn't get the wrong color ink on them. And then I kind of just worked my way through the whole process. So I'm going to grab my inks. Today I'm going to be using saltwater taffy and abandoned coral for my florals. I'm going to be using antique linen and frayed burlap for the center area. And then my greenery is going to be twisted citron and mowed lawn. And I just love this color combination. It's the perfect balance of bright and still like soft. It's not neon, it's not super dark, and it's not in your face, but it's a bright enough to be very happy and spring / start of summer kind of vibes, which is definitely what I was going for. So I'm starting out using one of the mini blending brushes from Simon Says Stamp, and this set I have in this little container I only use on my oxides. So I'm going in with that and blending a soft layer of saltwater taffy over everything. And then I'm going back with the abandoned coral and working my way from the kind of center of the flower down the petals a little bit, kind of adding more color up at the top and just blending that softly down onto my other color. And then I did go back in with just a little bit of, not empty because I use the same brush. I picked up just a little bit of saltwater taffy and went over the edges again just to make sure that I had a very smooth transition, because oxides are layerable. So you can blend back and forth between them really well. For that center section, I went over the top layer with the antique linen, and then just ran a little bit of frayed burlap along the bottom, and the under layer is completely frayed burlap, all one color. For my leaves, I went in with twisted citron first and just did a kind of soft all over color with that. Used the same brush and just picked up a touch of the mowed lawn and tried to keep that more towards the bottom of the leaf and kind of the center section of the leaf. And I love these two because you don't have to make sure that it's like the perfect blend, because everything's going to get layered. And I kind of like a more rustic feel to this kind of die set. So layering these up is super easy. Sometimes with the smaller Lovely Layers dies from Honeybee Stamps, I have had an issue trying to make sure that I know exactly what piece goes where. But for something like this coneflower is so bold and stylized. It's perfect, and it's so easy to just layer. So you can just use that center cone section as kind of your base for knowing where everything needs to go. I just added liquid glue. You can also only add glue to the center and then use like a pick or your fingers to kind of curl or pull some of the petals up so that you get a little more texture and fluff. But I knew my friend was going to be mailing this in the mail to someone, so I kept it flat just to keep it a little easier on her. And then now I'm kind of getting an idea of where things might be going, and we're going to get our sentiment taken care of. So I grabbed the Big Time Kindness stamp and die set from Honeybee Stamps, and I'm stamping out that large You're Amazing stamp first using the saltwater taffy ink. And I love stamping sentiments with my Distress Oxides now. I just love the color and how clear and crisp they are, and then that I can make them match everything else on my card. So I also love that Honeybee makes these beautiful coordinating dies that go with these sentiments, and I like that there's a mix. So the other part of the sentiment I'm doing is also from that same stamp set. Please excuse my head, I had to lean over and make sure it was straight, obviously. And so I'm using the frayed burlap ink to stamp the smaller I Sure Miss You onto the wooden plank background, and so that'll kind of be my secondary sentiment, and I just love how these go together. So once again, my best friend came in clutch this week with the inspiration, and she wanted to send a card to a woman that we worked with that she was very close with and who was kind of a mentor to her, but she got a new job, and we're very excited and happy for her. But because of that, they won't get to talk and see each other as much. And I know on a personal level and at work that my best friend is already missing her so much. So this is a card that she's going to be sending out to show her some love and just let her know that she's thinking of her. And I think it's just really important to take time to acknowledge not only the mothers and grandmothers and aunts and, whatever other female relatives are in your life. Obviously, those women are irreplaceable. And if you're lucky enough to have a great mom, I hope that you appreciate her every day. I appreciate mine every day. I talk to my mom every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I hope to be that mom to my kids. But if you are someone who maybe does not have a close relationship with your mom, or your mom is not here to celebrate with you, I hope that that day is okay for you. And I hope that you can find another strong woman in your life that you could celebrate that day, or even if it's just in your own mind, kind of appreciate and acknowledge that day. And just kind of everybody else out there in general, just be kind, because you never know what situation someone is in. And I do know people who don't have moms or grandmas to celebrate with, and that can be a very difficult day. So I just wanted to throw it out there that either way, there's beautiful cards that can be made to celebrate anybody on any day. And I hope that we can use them to just spread a little extra love and some smiles and kindness out into the world. So I added my sequins. Everything's listed down in the description box below. As always, I hope that you enjoyed seeing this card. I am so in love with how sweet it turned out. I hope that you have the most amazing week. And as always, happy crafting.